The trilogy fight between Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier was cut short due to a freak accident on the leg of McGregor. Conor broke the lower part of his leg as he stepped back, but the reason why this happened is disputed. Dustin said he felt a crack as he checked a kick, but the McGregor camp said the high guard of Dustin meant Conor's shin connected with Dustin's elbow. In this video, we're going to assess the injury, in particular looking at which bones were broken in McGregor's leg, but also taking a look at the potential treatment and rehabilitation that Conor McGregor would have. If you don't know me already, my name is Matthew Fayisa and I'm a medical student from London interested in sports medicine and player injuries. If you enjoy this sort of content, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel so you personally can join our ever-growing community here on YouTube. The part a lot of other reviewers are citing as the moment Conor McGregor's leg broke was when he attempted to do a kick to the mid portion of Dustin, and instead of landing on the thigh, he landed on the hip bone itself. The force of McGregor's kick landing on Dustin's hip bone would have been enough to cause some sort of fracture or decrease in the structural integrity of the shin bone itself. And as a result, it weakened it structurally, so when McGregor stepped back, it resulted in his leg giving way, and as a result causing the actual clean break through the tibia, as McGregor says himself. With this footage, we can see that as McGregor steps back, the foot gives way, and this most likely is going to be the result of a snapped tibia and also probably a fibula. The fibula bone is the thin bone kind of associated with that thicker tibia bone, and it's quite weak in structure. So once that tibia bone kind of cracks or snaps, usually the fibula bone goes with it, as it's not enough to kind of support the leg itself. It also may be fair to mention that perhaps this is a fracture dislocation injury. So in addition to the fracture of the shin bone and the fibula, there could also be damage to the ligaments of the ankle and the foot. This is a really tough injury to watch regardless of the sport, but it does mimic the Chris Weidman injury a few months ago, where he pretty much had a like for like kind of mechanism of injury to Conor. I know instead of hitting on the hip bone as Conor did, he hit lower down, I believe it was on the shin as well, so it was shin to shin contact and it just gave way. But regardless of the kind of sport, typically the treatment or the principles of treatment are the same. Pretty much immediately after the doctor's stoppage, we can see that he has a cast on his leg. And the purpose of this cast, it acts on the principles of something known as reduction. So in reduction, the medical team associated with that injury would immediately try and reduce the gap between the fractures in order to realign the joints or realign the bones as close together or as close to their normal orientation as possible. And what this does is it prevents any further damage to other structures such as the nerves or the blood vessels in the leg. The second step would be something called fixation. Fixation can occur on two principles or two kind of methods. The first would be external fixation. So if the gap, I believe, between the bones is greater than 2 centimeters, then external fixation would be required to kind of apply tension and apply pressure onto the bones directly to kind of close that gap up. External fixation is the use of screws and plates and all sorts of kind of robotic contraption almost looking things outside of the body, and then you pretty much drill through the skin and through the bones to apply that tension. However, if the gap is below 2 centimeters, then the use of internal fixation would be used. So internal fixation is the same principles as external fixation, so you're trying to fix the bones by applying tension, but this occurs within, so the use of plates and screws within the bone. So unlike external fixation, there will be no kind of contraptions or apparatus outside the body. Everything is within the bone or on top of the bone. This whole healing process is based on the principles of bone remodeling. And this bone remodeling is when there's small microfractures or stress fractures in the bones, and through certain pathological processes, the bone re-heals so that it's thicker and stronger than it was prior to the injury. Quite interestingly, in Muay Thai in particular, they manipulate this to kind of instigate it in their training so that their shins can become pretty much indestructible and really, really thick compared to the average person. And that allows them to kind of induce devastating kicks onto their opponents without kind of getting damaged themselves. With this injury, there are a range of consequences and potential risks that could be associated with it. that not only Conor but also his training team and the medical team would have to consider. The first would be whether there was any damage to the nerves or the vessels as a result of them being severed or pinched. This may lead to neurological deficits such as foot drop, or even worse, in terms of immediate threat to their life, something known as avascular necrosis, where the blood supply to the bones are no longer there as a result of blood vessels being damaged, and this can lead to kind of the death of tissues or cell death, and as a result of this may lead to limb amputation later down the line. This is more associated with open fractures. So open fractures is when the bone breaks and it pierces through the skin. The skin, or the role of the skin, is to act as a protective barrier to the body to pathogens such as bacteria, viruses and other microbes. So when there's an open fracture, it breaks that barrier and provides easy access to the body for these harmful particles. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts on this injury and when you think McGregor will return to the octagon. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel so you personally can join our ever-growing community here on YouTube, and also not miss any videos in the future. Until next time, here are 2 videos which might interest you, and I'll see you guys next time.